My name is Tara, and I am a survivor of sex trafficking. In roughly 2021-ish, I was living in California. I was a housekeeper. I lost a lot of clients due to COVID, so business wasn't so good. I took an emergency cleaning job through a friend. An elderly man was moving to Arizona, and he needed a housekeeper for one day. I took the job, and that is how I met my trafficker. I noticed in the house everyone was moving out quickly. I cleaned, I helped him. He informed me that he had a place of residence for 6 months free in Arizona. I had never been to Arizona. I don't have children and no family ties, so I went with him to Arizona. I got to know my trafficker. He was my friend. He was always looking out for me. He really, in my eyes at that time, he was my friend, and I trusted him. At the time, I was vulnerable. I didn't have any friends. I have no children. I have no family. I was just a housekeeper who was in desperate need of work. So it was just me, and that's perfect target. After we got to Arizona, there's no income. I noticed that my trafficker, there is no job. He's not working. I am not working. And he says he has a friend who would pay to go out on a date with me. It's just a dinner date, and we could use the money, and he would pay me $700 to go and have dinner at a restaurant. And I did. And the man paid $700 to have dinner with me. And it was just dinner. And I was amazed. Absolutely amazed. The way my trafficker explained it to me was that there are businessmen out there that they don't have social lives because of whatever they do. And they sometimes like company and they pay for it. It didn't seem like it was something far-fetched. You know, I could understand it, I guess. And then it changed. I don't drive. I am not a very good driver for everyone's safety. And so my trafficker, he was the one who always went to the store. He was the one who always did all of those things that I didn't do. He had a friend come over. They were watching sports, and my trafficker said, my friend wants to know if you have sex with him, he'll give you $1,000. Tara, we need this money. The guy was actually, I thought he was out of my league. I did it. I got myself good and drunk. And I did it, and that's what it took. It really did. And $1,000 in my hand, and it was 20 minutes. I remember putting the money on the table, and I remember him telling me he was proud of me. He was so proud of me that we could now pay this bill and that bill, and I was excited too. I was like, that was like the easiest $1,000 anybody could have made. It started becoming where he put cameras on the outside of the house. He said it was for my safety, in case someone pulled in, they could get the license plate in case something happened. I found out that that was not the case at all. He was scheduling, he was pretending to be me on websites, scheduling dates. He was telling me the reason why he was doing the scheduling is because he was weeding out the bad ones. He was making sure, as if there were good ones, weeding out the bad ones, making sure, I didn't get beat up. I didn't want to ever use the word pimp, and it wasn't until after this whole thing that's essentially what he was doing. Soon he was keeping all the money. Again, at first this really didn't bother me because I lived in a beautiful little home, a gated community. I didn't have to ever leave the house. And he said, we have the best job ever. You could get paid to get dressed up every single day. And I started believing this. I mean, I was a princess. I was a princess in my eyes, in my whole, it's so crazy how the brain tricks you sometimes. So he was keeping all the money. He put cameras in, I found out later, in 15 different areas in the home. This went on for a while. I started realizing he had kept my identification. I found out that he went online and he got my birth certificate. He even got, I'm divorced now, but he got my marriage certificate, and he held all these documents in a safe in his truck. I never knew about it until after the Scottsdale PD got him. I didn't know I had to escape. I didn't feel I had to escape. The want to escape only ensued after the abuse started. And him keeping all the money and forcing me, like it started out as it was my decision on who, and then it became a schedule I had to keep, and this many Johns a day, and him keeping all the money. Drunk. and on drugs. That was my emotional state. I kept myself so inebriated from the minute I woke up until the minute I went to sleep. I was uncomfortable being sober. I didn't know how to, because I had been for over a year, and there was, in the morning, a bottle of vodka was right there, and the drugs were right there every morning. It was, I never went without it. So, yeah, there was definitely, the drugs and the alcohol played a very big part in my ability to push back the reality of me being sex trafficked. I tried to take some money. I wanted to be done with this. It was becoming, I must be up at 4 a.m. in the morning. I must work from 4 a.m. to a certain amount of time to get a certain clientele. He was bringing home certain outfits that I had to wear. He was making contracts with these clients, BDSM, you know, a release of liability if in case I hurt somebody during an encounter. I started realizing that this was just, I didn't want to do it anymore. I tried to take the money, and not all of it either. I tried to get the $89. It was a Greyhound ticket. I was going to run away. You can get on Greyhound without an ID, and he had my ID, so I could sneak away. I had this whole plan. Because I didn't know about the 15 cameras, he saw me take the money. He was upstairs after the John left. I lied about it. I didn't know he had the camera. I tried to blame it on the John, infuriated him. He pushed me up against the refrigerator, lifted me off the ground by my throat, urinated myself. I go berserk after I finally can get him off of me, and the neighbors here, thank God, and they call the police department. I was quiet when the police got there. I was upstairs, but I guess those walls are pretty thin where we lived. The police left, then they came back, and the neighbors said, there's a girl in there, there's someone in there, they need help. They came in. I was upstairs, like I said. He had a credenza that he used to tie me to, that he had tied me to. So the Scottsdale police, they find me. They untie me. He takes off. They take me to a place called the Dream Center. I had no idea about this place, and it is for survivors of sex traffickers. No matter what situation you're in, they will come and get you. No matter what it is you need. Though I've never in my life seen an organization that truly, truly helps those, and male and female are victims. Boys, young boys. They took me to the Dream Center. They informed me when he was arrested. As a matter of fact, he was sent to prison like 3 or 4 weeks ago. They gave him 6 years. I was at the Dream Center for less than 24 hours and I ran away. I didn't know how much an effect being in that situation had on my brain, because the things that they were telling me about my sex trafficker, I didn't believe that. He was my friend. There's no way that he had 15 cameras and that there's thousands of videos of me on his computer. He's my friend, and I was really convinced that he was just a little old man, you know? And it wasn't until it was, I got time away from that I started reading the reports, and everything in it's true, and then I start realizing that everything in it's true, and that what isn't true is what I have been made to believe, that I'm a princess and that I have the best job in the world. It was all for his profit. It was all for his profit and at my expense. And I don't care how good a pair of shoes you buy me, nothing that lifestyle is just, it's harsh. I suffered from horrible anxiety. Just going out, I had not been into a Walmart or a public store in so long at this point. I went to a McDonald's and I couldn't even order. My mind was so messed from being kept away from society for that long and held in that environment for so long. Like I said, the first night at the Dream Center, I've been to the Dream Center 3 times since this has happened. The first night, 24 hours, I was in the middle of Arizona. I don't drive. I had no clue where I was. I had no money in my pocket. I didn't have any idea of really what was going on. And then I realized when I got out there that I don't have any money. And the only thing that I do know is I can go on that website. So because I was so used to doing it, I went back on the website and I had and then I was able to pay for my own hotel rooms. So now I was still doing it, even though he was gone. I mean, I was drinking a gallon of vodka a day, and you couldn't tell I was even inebriated. That's how bad my body was in processing the alcohol. No idea that the numbness I was trying to get to in order to do it. My trafficker, between his family and friends, they bonded him out for $50,000 cash. They put him on an ankle monitor. He was not to come near me, contact me in any capacity. I'm really not sure to this day how he realized where I was, or if he took a chance, a shot in the dark of where I was, or was watching the hotel, or if he pretended like he was one of the Johns that were answering my ad. It was very easy to find out where I was. All he had to do is that. So there is a knock on my door. I look at people. It's my trafficker. I'm not answering. He's banging on the window. He's ripping the screen off. I pick up the phone. On speed dial, I have the district attorney for sex crimes on speed dial. And I don't know why I called her, but I did. She says it was the craziest Friday ever because I called her. I said, he's breaking in. She said she could hear him ripping the screen off. Just as this is going on, Michael, my friend, shows up. And he chases my trafficker out of there. The cops have shown up. They get him, my trafficker, down the road. They put him back in jail, and he has no way of getting out now. They can't bond him out. They can't do anything. Yeah, no way to hurt anybody ever again. I did find out that he had been doing this for a long time, that there were thousands. It was a requirement to take a picture of yourself with your ID to go on the website. So he has a picture of me with my ID, and he has over 2,000 other women like that on his, yes, from California. I found out the reason he was moving from California, the whole reason he was moving that quick was because he was under pressure over there and they were watching him. And he, to this day, doesn't feel he did anything wrong. He said he was just scheduling my schedule to make sure that I didn't have anybody that hurt me. And he still believes. And in court, he felt that he should be let out because of his health conditions and that he has a business plan. And yeah, that's why he got the max sentence he could get, because he feels that he didn't do anything wrong. The first and last abuse part, well, it was all abuse. In my opinion, it's all abuse. With the drugs involved, the tying me up, and the sexual encounters with my trafficker, in my mind, at that time, was he loves me. That was not the case. The abuse was the day I took the money, and he choked me until I urinated myself. My manipulation was the only thing that got me out of that day, because I manipulated him sexually while he had me like this, to get him off of me. And I pretended that whole him choking me and me urinating didn't bother me at all, and it was normal, even though I knew at my first minute I could get away, I was going to get away. But the neighbors called the cops ahead of time, so I'm thankful for that. I didn't know anything about this life. Nothing at all. When I thought of like trafficking, I thought this when you steal people and you bring them over to the border or something like that. I did not have any idea that it was gaining monetary wealth off of somebody else's slavery. No matter it be sex, work, nails, hair, it doesn't matter. But that's trafficking. And there are boys and girls that are being sex trafficked, and Arizona is the #1 state, has the highest rates for it. But the good news is that it doesn't have to stay that way at all. I remember specifically feeling, how am I going to get out of this? I have no idea how I'm going to get out of this. And with the support of Arizona has the best support when it comes to sex trafficking, as far as I know. No one ever put any blame on me. I, for a while, did blame myself. My trafficker decided he was going to try and commit suicide. He bonded out. When he bonded out, he called me, told me to go to his truck, make sure I drink a lot of water, which I knew what that meant. It meant that he was going to inject me with a lot of drugs. He was going to kill us both. I never went. I called the police instead. They found him with a hose from the back of his truck to the front of his truck, because he was getting ready to be sentenced. And his son, to keep me from going to testify against him, told me that he was successful. He told me that my trafficker killed himself, and I for a long time blamed myself for that man dying. He killed himself. If I would have just done this or done that, I was severely depressed about that until, and this is probably 6 months later, I get a call from Scottsdale PD. I call them the A-team. They want to go, he's getting ready to be sentenced. And I said, I thought he was dead. She says, I don't know who told you that. Well, the son was telling me that to keep me from going to the courtroom. Well, they came and picked me up. We went to court. I got to say what I had to say, and he was sentenced. I thought me thinking that he committed suicide, I got closure. It's over. I didn't realize it, but it wasn't until after he was sentenced and I stood up and I had said what I had to say, which was short and sweet and respectful. That's when I got the closure. I felt like I had this entire thing lifted off of me. Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, that was the day when I realized that, I am a survivor. When I see people out there, I'm not sure if they're sex traffickers or if they are in the industry, but I know that I can tell when there's a working woman. And like I said, it's just like when you buy a white Mazda. All of a sudden, all you see are white Mazdas. And that's the only thing I can compare it to. And that's exactly how it is. And it wasn't until I went to the Dream Center that I learned that there are boys that are being sex trafficked as well, because there are a lot of twisted people out there. Signs that someone's being held against their will, that I would pick up on, is the person's always looking to the other person for permission. If you are in a McDonald's and it comes time to order and the person is literally looking for permission to make the next move, whether it be to move forward in the line or just do anything, they are looking to be told what to do, because that is exactly what they're used to. That, I would say, is the number one sign. And the worst thing you could do is approach them in front of whoever it is. You literally, that's the worst thing you could do, because you don't know what happens behind closed doors. If you're a female, wait till the female goes to the bathroom. If you want to slip a note, but don't ever say anything in front of, because that person will get in trouble. There's a misconception that your trafficker, or whatever you want to call him, cares about you. He does not. There's no way in the world that somebody that loves you or cares about you in any capacity, would want anything to come of harm to you. I feel that my mailman has more love and respect for me than my trafficker did. Another misconception is that you tell yourself, I'm going to do it until I have this amount of money, and then I'm going to stop. That never happens. That is a misconception. You're fooling yourself. My relationships on trust has evolved recently. I did not always trust my one friend, and that's been over 1.5 years, and I put him through the ringer. I did not trust anyone. I didn't trust that when I handed the lady at McDonald's my money, that if I went to the second window, my food was going to come out. And that's not a joke, it's the truth. You lose trust I lost trust in myself. My own decision-making process. I couldn't trust, I know that I can go right because the light says it's green, but I don't trusting myself. And I'm learning that now, is to trust myself. And I think that trusting other people, it will be easier once I learn to trust myself. But that's the main thing, because I agreed to come to Arizona. I agreed to do a lot of things with my trafficker. So myself is the person that I am relearning how to trust, because I made those decisions as an adult and it didn't turn out to be what I thought it was going to be. I think the best way to raise awareness, I really do believe this. It all really starts with our children, especially with this tech age now. Raising awareness is through our children. They talk, they have friends. If you have little girls and little boys that know about things that go on in the internet, and to stay away from them, they're going to tell their friends. They're going to know. You teach your children, and they teach their friends, essentially. It's just the way it goes. That's how I feel about that. In this particular case, the legal system did work for me. I'm not sure about any adjustments or anything. I'm always if it's not broke, don't fix it type person. But there's always different. Every case is different. Every sex trafficking case is different. Sometimes they're relatives. Sometimes, they're handicapped. The people that are being trafficked are handicapped. It's just, they're so different. Through the Dream Center, I was able to get on public assistance for health insurance. So I go to counseling. I go to grief counseling. I go to anxiety coping classes, circling myself with good people and people that are cut of a good cloth. is always helpful. Therapy definitely helps. It does make me feel better. My way of thinking is broken, and I'm not sure if it was broken prior to this experience, but I do know that this experience helped break me. What is a small problem to most people is a big problem for me. And when I go to my counselor and talk it out, it's always not so big. I would want to say to everybody who is caught up in sex trafficking that one day it's good, the next day it's not. No matter what, you can always, always call the Dream Center. You can, if you don't want to call the police, call the Dream Center in Phoenix. They will come and pick you up anytime, any place. They will bring you to the Dream Center. They have these beautiful apartments. You are in there to get your head straight. They take care of everything. You will not need to worry about shampoo. You will not need to worry about food. You will not need to worry about clothing. They walk you through every step to get out of that lifestyle, and the success rate is phenomenal. And because you make $1,000 in an hour now, doesn't mean that you'll have to always be in that industry, because I felt that way. I felt, how am I going to get a regular paycheck? And now I love my $19 an hour. And of course, any law enforcement, you might be scared of going to the law because you're doing something illegal, but they don't even care what you're doing. They want to make sure you're safe and that you're not doing it anymore. Don't give up hope.